Hello and welcome to Outlook Talks. This is a series of conversations that we are having with very interesting people from academia, scholars, writers, politicians, thinkers, to discuss what the elections that have just happened, the campaign that has just gone through, and what are the various issues that were there in these elections. So today we have with us very interesting personality. We have Professor N Sukumar, teaches political science in Delhi University and author of many books on caste. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us. And my colleague Abhik, who's here also, who's traveled extensively for the election this time. So he'll bring his perspective from the ground. So actually, Professor Sukumar, in these elections, really speaking, now that it's been such a long drawn campaign, social justice and caste, which we didn't think, at least many of us didn't think that it's going to be such an important issue in the elections, has in the last 6-7 weeks been right on top there from both the opposition and the ruling party. Would you agree? I mean, is that right?
Yeah, of course. When it comes to the social justice issues, first time in the history of the electoral politics in India, I would like to start from there, rather than this 6 weeks, last, 4-5 phases. First time probably the social justice issue has become a major significant concern of the politics, the parties which believed in the democratic setup. So therefore what I'm saying, I'm trying to clearly differentiate the political parties which argued for social justice and like India Bloc, whereas BJP, which didn't never used any such kind of term social justice in its manifesto,
right,
though it talks about scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other things. So therefore first time in the history of electoral politics in post-independent India, social justice has become a major debate, and it is a very interesting shift which I can see from now. That is one point. Coming to 2024 elections, yes, first 2 phases of election there was not much debate on, though issues like caste census and many other things were there in the beginning, from the beginning. But the discourse has changed after 2 phases of election, and social justice has become a major one-point agenda of the 2024 election. I can see that.
In fact, this is one of the few areas where the opposition is leading the narrative. That's what one felt, that usually it is following. In any other on any other thing, it is usually a sort of a reaction to something. But in this, it seems like the India Bloc, that is, has set up the narrative of of reservations, of caste, of social justice in this.
Well, there are many forces. I don't see it's only political parties. Like I am being part of Bharat Jodo Abhiyan.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is civil society organizations which pushed this agenda much more vociferously, much more forcibly into the debate, either through social media or different kind of things. And also because of that kind of push, it was the India Bloc which adopted these kind of strategies. For example, we are working for the past 1 year to how to set the narrative, how to set the agenda of social justice, particularly in the context of moving in different corners. So therefore not only the Congress, if you I was going through the day, Congress has came out with its manifesto, the first point which talks about equity, and then within equity social justice. And not only Congress but also many India Alliance partners has come out very clearly about the issue of social justice.
So as you were saying, sir, so that civil society organizations have even worked for this, toward this agenda. I was trying to think through that it was in 1990s when after the Mandal Commission implementation. Don't you think at that point of time, at the very social justice politics in electoral politics, it had some sort of relevance, because as you were saying, this is the first time. Don't you think even in 1990s politics witnessed this emergence of all the social justice parties, and this, how is it different from now and then? How are you into looking at it?
See, what Christopher Jaffelet calls it as India's silent revolution.
Yes.
From 1980s to 90s. It was that, the mobilization of other backward castes. And also from 1970s itself, when government has completely given up on the social justice agenda implementation of reservations, particularly in the context of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, whoever the government, before that. So it was like all these groups coming together, and they saw that, there is a complete conspiracy by the BJP, where the lower castes, particularly other backward castes, scheduled castes, are trying to unite themselves for their own identity politics, where it turned towards to be their long-term political agenda, and also which turns it into social and economic, benefits. The Mandal also happened, Mandal and Kamandal, 1990s. So they, even at that point of time, they tried to sabotage the mobilization of the lower castes. And they tried to sabotage Mandal, this thing. But yes, Mandal Commission has given a new discourse towards the social justice politics. And now, and it has, so therefore, what BJP did, BJP tried to mobilize the lower OBC groups. Like, for example, in UP, Kalyan Singh, it was the BJP's agenda to bring the other than
non-Yadav, non-Jatav combo.
Yeah. So they tried to mobilize these groups and try to accommodate them. What Professor Ram Reddy used to call the concept in the politics of accommodation. You try to accommodate the people who never represented in the political sphere. So BJP started its strategy with that, where Congress failed partly, and other regional parties also failed. Even in fact BSP and also SP, for that matter, they failed. In fact, even DMK, which is much more, based on, justice and other kind of, ideological concerns, but it also failed in protecting, the concerns of, Dalits or scheduled castes. So, that time the social justice politics has, different kind of, understanding, but there is a continuity. There is a continuity. That is a base. That's a base. Though the BJP have played its role to pull down other groups into non-Jatav or non-Yadav into their fold, but whereas the current, the present social justice politics, it has become necessary, even for the parties like VCK. JMM becoming part of India Alliance, DMK, those who believed strongly in social justice. Of course, BSP, unfortunately, BSP didn't come into this alliance.
Just one, you said that the idea came actually from civil society to get into an electoral kind of a level of in social justice. But do you think that the opposition parties, Congress in particular, when it comes to social justice or caste related issues, especially during the elections, it's not so much affirmative action culturally or socially or in generally in life, but it boils down usually to reservation. I mean, that is, in the end it comes to that. Whereas, the canvas of social justice is so vast, and especially in our country, we have so much work to do. But that never really gets highlighted in any election campaign.
Yeah. So first time it happened, but I call social justice not merely in the context of the marginal groups. Social justice is something which is a very important concept where, one can see that in the context of constitution. Denial of constitutional rights to anyone is denial of justice and social justice.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now when this particular elections, when I was in the ground, when I was moving around in Telangana, and before elections, I went to Karnataka, I went to Tamil Nadu, I went to Maharashtra. People started talking about the constitution at the ground, even after before when the electoral politics are happening. I was in Nizamabad, Karimnagar, Mahbubnagar, all these places. People started talking about the constitution. I was interacting with an NREGS, woman worker. And she was talking about, in a very angry mood that, our constitution is going to be scrapped. So the discourse went to such a level, social justice has become a compelled concern of India bloc.
But what I was asking is, yes, I agree with all that. But when it comes to finally in the electoral speeches or campaign rallies, it is only this reservation issue, and then you get stuck there because there is that Supreme Court order. Then how are you going to give increase it to some part, some caste, and then what is the repercussion going to be for the other, because there is a limit. So what I mean is it becomes a very arithmetic kind of a issue rather than a
long-term project, or
of affirmative, solid, proper affirmative action.
Okay,
I'll just add to that what we were thinking of, that it's all about when Rahul Gandhi is saying that 90%, we have to representation of 90% and everything, and this whole thing is all about there is a technicality into it involved. That is, there is a 50% bar, whether it can be increased or not. These questions actually come instead of specifically talking about not only proportional representation, as you rightly said, that the constitutional rights and dignity of the people.
That is
so. There, don't you think somewhere or other that was missing in this whole campaign trail? Because that is the thing where from Vajpayee has taken up this. They will give you reservation to, like SC, ST, OBC reservations will be given to Muslims and whatever like that. So it was mostly boiled down to affirmative action instead of much more broader aspects of social justice. What do you think?
Probably it could be one political strategy to narrow down to reservations, but which is not the right agenda. I see that it's not a right agenda. Yes, it is important to debate about reservations, and ultimately where
it is one of the things of social justice where there are a million others.
Exactly. How do you see? Look, I am working on citizenship now. Is it you are a citizen, but what you are entitled, dignity, justice,
correct,
and overall development within the whether it is individual or community.
Not to be afraid to go out and do what you want. Ride a horse on your wedding.
Exactly. Exactly. So the overall development concern is missing, and most probably what I would say that again though it is a bad strategy, but it has become a compelled, because when BJP is saying that we will give you this much number, we will take reservations from them and we will give to you, so it is like a trap. BJP is trying to trap you towards to the debate on only reservations but not any other things.
So narrowing down the debate, that is there
to that level. But I see that how do you distribute the resources from all corners, not just only reservations and jobs.
Exactly.
How do you ensure the dignity of a person who has his or her own choice of opting any kind of thing which has been very clearly drafted in the constitution and also in the directive principles of state policy? How you become a significant group or community which can contribute to the larger political domain. That is missing.
That is what I'm missing.
So,
and this thing is so, for so many years has been so lopsided, towards the upper caste, and the ruling classes. That's what I mean. That is where we need to, sort of, break it down and, as you say, redistribute.
Exactly. It needs to be, and look, again, Therefore, what when in the beginning I said that it should completely re-strategize. Okay, now after fourth, we are all eagerly waiting about fourth, but after fourth, the agenda of social justice, how it needs to be transformed.
Because the election has come and gone, but the issues remain.
Issue remains, and the communities and their suffering remains. For example, atrocities. For example, employment, health. These are basic concerns of Dalit Bahujan communities who are yet to get benefit. You are therefore, I can recall that, Ambedkar, who spoke about, citizenship rights in 1930s,
Yeah.
1930s, which becomes much more relevant today. And therefore that should be what he argued for: long term, substantial citizenship, rather than a mere citizenship which doesn't guarantee anything to you. So therefore the parties which now started believing, I'm being very specific about it, that they need to seriously think and re-strategize, and one needs to continuously engage on this, not
Yeah.
elections over and then you got power
And flog this one horse of reservation.
Yeah, let me also tell one more thing. What I observed at the ground, the leadership, where I worked, it was Congress. I don't know about any other regions, but though our team has worked in different regions, it has become, okay, if Dalits, Christians, Muslims, they will anyway eventually will vote for us. So therefore, no need to think about much.
That
about,
is the limiting thing of electoral politics, right?
I'll just chip into this. Like one thing that, as you were saying, that Dalits, Christians, Muslims, like this believe that they will vote for us. Don't you think in the last few votes, last few elections, we have seen that several reserved seats have gone to Vajpayee? Even if we talk about Madhya Pradesh last assembly elections,
that's very interesting.
So whenever there is like, if I refer to Madhya Pradesh, a single instance, the number of Adivasi atrocities is highest in Madhya Pradesh as per the NCRB data. But last elections, assembly elections, the majority of the Adivasi seats went to Vajpayee. So what is it all about? As we are saying that Dalits, Adivasis are facing atrocities, they are facing lynchings and so on and so forth. Even after that, how these votes are going to BJP? Where is it coming from? How is this consolidation happening? What do you think about it?
See, BJP with its own strategies, like as I said, politics of accommodation, they are picking up, they're trying to first polarize the community by bringing certain communities who are not represented at all in the political domain. That is number one. Number two, once after doing that, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to, it is like, you say that, 38% or, maximum 38 or 40% of vote bank, 38 only, how this consolidating these communities based on the subcaste, subtribe or any other identities, they are trying to mobilize. And they are able to convince them in a very emotional context, or maybe nationalistic, kind of, identity, where elections becomes a very, in front of me now, I have to vote, and whom should I vote? And there are certain concerns. I look into that rather than thinking about the long-term concerns which I experience in an everyday context. That kind of, ideological churning has not happened among, much more sections of...
So, has not happened.
Not happened.
Yeah.
So
Not
are you
happened.
saying the choice of vote of the selection, that whom to vote for, it is a temporal thing?
It's a temporal.
It's a temporal
It's a
thing, that
temporal.
the immediate necessity and immediate needs. And do you think this is the reason of the welfare politics getting so much attractions?
Yeah.
How do you connect it? Because this welfare politics, when I was in the ground, we were saying, like, even in Madhya Pradesh, I'm referring to Madhya Pradesh, that Ladli Behan Yojana, Behan ke liye laddu diya, mama ne. And that was being told to me by several Adivasi people over there.
Yeah.
So this is something I want to understand. We were wondering that, is it the reason that it has become temporal, that the welfare politics has become so important?
Yeah, not only in Madhya Pradesh, you take any other region
Any other
where
region,
welfare, crumbles. You give crumbles through welfare kind of thing, and you give benefits for old age, or you take Andhra Pradesh, which is completely like in a family, you get around 20 to 25,000 in a month.
Right.
So there is no any kind of other kind of alternative mechanism that the political parties are following. So, but this welfare kind of measures are not happening to only SC/ST OBCs.
Yeah,
It is also happening to other communities.
Absolutely.
You take the larger farm loans, weaving of the farm loans, and
Yes,
many other
so
things,
many things, yeah.
But for Dalits, for tribals, why it has become so in that context why it is very important. But for see, I can say that I mean, for them, when there is an immediate benefit in front of me, and where that benefit is going to be attained by this electoral politics, so my concern become much more electoral politics.
Okay.
That is one thing which is a very bad thing,
Because also this is so, the welfare schemes, it's also become so competitive. I mean, in Andhra Pradesh, for instance, and in Telangana, I mean, it's one, you give X, you give 2X, you up it to 3X, you match it to 4X. I mean, that, and it's all coming from debt. It's not, so there is I mean, how long is it sustainable to go on? Like you said, in Andhra Pradesh, I think I met also a few families, they get, the mother gets something, the father gets something, the school going children get something, all put, it's a lot in a year. I mean, it's like
in a month.
In a month,
yeah. In a month.
There is, for instance, there is one of them had a kidney stone operation, which he said it was 1,20,000 completely free. So I mean, but this, the exchequer is, it's kind of, somebody has to pay the bill, right, in the end.
Yeah. No, welfare politics are important, but the idea of welfare politics has its own significance, way before when it started. But it should not boil down to such a level where communities will only depend on that.
Correct. And
this Dalit, SC, STs, they're only dependent on that, and therefore you are trying to make them, you are enslaving them.
And there's a competitive welfareism.
That's
Congress is even talking about, it's a competitive thing, because
Exactly.
1 lakh rupees to people, and like in a year to like all this entrepreneurship and other things. So in this way, what do you think the alternative of, so as you were talking about social justice politics, what is the alternative of it that we are unable to understand?
The alternative is to generate employment. Generate employment, develop. The economy should be, the development model should be in such a way that it should give more jobs. It should bring more, not only marginal communities. You see that the entire unemployment debate that kick started. It can be unemployment, it can be health, it can be education. Everywhere, the major percentage is SC, ST, OBCs again. Where so I see that the other issues also which becoming part of not only reservations but also many other concerns, where majority, at least 70 to 80% of if you merge all SC, ST, OBCs together, they are the victims of this development model which we have adopted. Which we have adopted.
True,
So we need to seriously change the development discourse, number one. I was just talking to the taxi driver coming, a very interesting discussion, So I asked that, he's from UP, he said, I asked that whom you are supporting. He said, our Kon, Modi. I said, okay, fine, then what? No, he made temple and other things. Then I thought, let me talk about issues with him. So when I started talking about issues, he was slightly taken aback. And at the end of the discussion, he said that, I asked how many children do you have, He said 2 children. He said, Berozgar. I said, so now from Mandir to Berozgar. So what do you think about this entire, kind of thing? I don't know which caste he belongs to. Whichever the caste he might be. My only concern is that when we are talking about even a youth, unemployed youth, it is denial of justice and social justice.
But that is true. This happens all the time when we go onto the ground and speak to people, do a little bit of a deep interview of sit them down, and this is not only with the BJP. I mean, whichever the ruling government may be there, it's you talk a little, you start questioning like how have you benefited, for your children, has the education become better, the health services better? I mean, mostly they'll keep saying no. And it's unemployment is one huge issue, and then I mean, whichever, like I said, the state is ruling in that, there is from the immediate answer of who do you vote, and then it'll come to completely the opposite.
Here exactly the India bloc failed to reach to the people.
I think,
like saying that you are not able to counter what exactly BJP is arguing. Suppose if they are saying only reservation, why do you again narrow down to only reservation? You say that we will distribute the entire resources.
They have,
which has been taken over.
That narrative has just not been there.
So therefore, now
they've always been entrapped by the narrative and the speech said by Vajpayee. So there is. Won't you think that this is a sort of a continuous thing. Whenever BJP sets the pitch, this time it is like after second phase, it was different.
Yeah.
But before the first two phases, it was mostly the narrative set by Vajpayee, and they were like,
No, but that also helped India Bloc. Let me tell you,
Okay.
for the sake of voting votes for that purpose, it helped because people started saying. Constitution ko chin raha hai, they are taking our constitution, therefore the reservations are going to be removed, and therefore our future is null. Even, but see how they are going. They will. I mean, this discourse reached to the people.
But
That helped. In fact, that helped.
But the other point that what you were just talking about, see, there is, I think, in 10 years of ruling such a big, messy country like ours, there is just pure anti-incumbency, that people don't think that for 10 years, for a government to keep on delivering, it's a huge task. That, I think, is what I think the opposition, the India Bloc, completely missed in communicating or in capitalizing on, because how much unemployment is there in the manifesto, but how much of it did they go and tell the people, like you're saying, did they do that? I don't know.
No. I mean, but this work has been done by the civil society groups. I can tell that. There was a huge campaign, but 5 things which really didn't work to BJP, especially in southern states and some other parts of the country. Coming to ignoring the Hindi belt, Bhima Koregaon, April 2nd agitation, Hathras, and then this constitution, and completely privatizing the public sector, which has its adverse effect on the employment concerns of the marginal groups. So all these things really worked against BJP, and the entire campaign, I can tell you that for the political parties, they have their own agenda, but whereas from not only Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, for that matter, many civil society groups, I was amazed to see Jago India, like Wake Up India, Wake Up Andhra, for that matter. There were people who really worked hard in the 6 constituencies and in fact this Wake Up Andhra openly gave a paper notification saying that telling the Chandrababu Naidu and other parties not to support the communal forces at the center. So therefore, many civil society groups who came together, not to just this election, I would like to say that it's nothing but political parties played India Bloc played one role, but whereas the other people like communities, civil society organizations, they played. It is like peoples versus Modi. That's where even in the context of social justice, if I bring entire communities who were the victims under BJP government, of course like in Telangana, Munnur Kapu, Madiga, and there is one more community which they have completely focused and they worked. But within scheduled caste, there is a complete polarization of votes in Telangana. Some went to Congress, some went to BJP. In assembly elections, all people divided into 3 political parties. So therefore, somewhere this idea of social justice has become much more relevant in coming days.
Yeah.
Just one thing, sir, I was thinking of, as you were saying that earlier, that BSP in Dalit politics in the last few decades, we know BSP has been leading in Dalit politics, but for the last 1 or 5-7 years, we have seen a continuous decline of the party. How do you think BSP's Dalit vote base, or like in Uttar Pradesh and other parts, they are behaving whenever there is a sort of force that is in power, that is somewhere or other people are saying responsible for atrocities against Dalits? How do you read BSP's politics in this context?
10 years before, BSP has its very strong base in different states, not only in UP. Till just 10 years before, maybe 2014 onwards, it has completely. So what BJP did, it completely sabotaged Kanshiram's political strategies. It's like you try to pull down the entire game, or maybe the engineering, social engineering that Kanshiram, played. So therefore, what they did, they tried to sabotage that in Uttar Pradesh. Until recently, it is not that, till 2019, BSP in every state, in an average, because I worked on these issues, social justice issues, and I know that, I voted for BSP for the past 20 years, I'm telling you. First time I voted for Congress. The reason is that, I have very, very clear, I need to protect constitution, I need to protect democracy, I need to protect certain principles which for the past 75 years India experienced. So BSP after 2019, till 2019, in an average 2% they have vote bank in many states in the country, wherever the social justice movements, including Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana. In fact, in Telangana, R.S. Praveen Kumar, who moved to TRS at the last moment, he was the in charge of BSP, and he tried his level best to bring BSP and Telangana TRS government alliance. But he openly said that, in his own videos, which I'm not I'm not telling anything beyond that. What he said, that it is because the pressure from the BJP, what made Banerjee to ask me to break up the alliance with the TRS. So therefore, now, in 2024, the silence. See, the politics of presence is very important.
Yes.
If you are in politics, you need to be visible. You need to engage with politics, where BSP never did that. So therefore, it is losing its pace. Sooner, if it can re-strategize and bring new blood into the not family ties. There are people who
young leaders.
Really, young. There are many people who are really want to work with BSP because of their own political lineage. Otherwise, whatever is remained in BSP politics, it is going to be killed by its own party and the own leader, rather than the cadre. Cadre is there, but leader is not visible anywhere. So therefore, I see this BSP politics in this way.
I think we have to conclude. We are running out of time. Though I would like to end with, the elections will come and go, whatever the results may be. But the affirmative action, the social justice cause that the India Bloc and the opposition parties, Congress has started, has sort of brought to the, the mainstream. How will it go on beyond this?
It should go beyond the political mileages. It needs to, as I already said, that if at all India Bloc, whether comes in power or not, it should stick together, because social justice politics is something to do with a collective concern rather than an independent political idea. It's a collective concern. It should not be narrowed down to either electoral politics. It should be, the politics of social justice should be based on distribution of resources, a collective responsibility in feeling ethical and moral concern towards to these communities who are suffering for the many decades. Distribution of resources, and it's a continuous process. I don't think that this need to be stopped. And even in 2029, that is what Bharat Jodo Abhiyan decided to work till 2029. It's a civil society, organization which we come together, as you might be knowing it, that, we are going to work till 2029, and we are going to say that, social justice, saving democracy, save constitution is our concern. And we will keep on continuously insisting, either India Bloc, even civil society groups, engaging with communities. We will keep on working till 2029. Hopefully, this is the beginning, and even if India Bloc gets majority, I would like to convey one small message to India Bloc, political parties. Even if India Bloc gets some kind of way to form the government, there is a way to show the future politics for social justice by electing the chief ministerial candidate from the background where the the prime ministerial candidate from the background where the Dalit or any other background who comes from.
That will be great.
I think that would be be a beginning, and that will set the agenda. Exactly. So therefore, hoping for all the things, probably we can guess who might be hoping for all the best.
Sure. Thank you very much. That was very interesting conversation. Thank you very much for dropping into our studios, and thank you very much for listening in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.